sons. Tonight, you have learned the final and greatest truth of the ninja. That ultimate mastery comes not of the body, but of the mind.
Welcome back to Thinking Critical. This is Wes, and my good friend Mark Pellegrini and I, we did a recent video on the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles comic book series. Obviously, Mark is a lifetime TMNT fan. He had his website and all that stuff. And I said, Mark, you got to let me in here. Like, what are the top 5 TMNT stories of all time? I was expecting comic books, but Mark, he loves all things TMNT. He likes video games, movies, cartoons, and he said these are the best stories through all mediums, so we're going to cover it here today. How you doing, Mark?
I'm doing great. I mean, you hit me in my wheelhouse, so yeah, it's turtle time.
It's time to hit some fun spots. Our last video wasn't as enjoyable as this one. So number 5, you're kind of cheating a little bit. We've had a couple of Batman TMNT crossovers within DC Comics where they published that awesome crossover. We also had it in the animated verse. You couldn't make a decision, and I think you're probably right with this one.
Yep, so my number 5, honestly, so just full disclosure is that I wanted to hit a different aspect of the franchise, so a different incarnation in all of my top five slots with no repeats. So that was my intention. But so part 5 covers Batman TMNT Volume 1. And if you want to narrow it down, we could say number 1 is just the idea of the Ninja Turtles meeting Batman, this huge character. The Turtles have had lots of crossovers in the past. They met Usagi Yojimbo. They met the Wild West Cowboys of Moo Mesa. They've met lots and lots of characters, but they're usually rather small-time indie characters like Panda Khan, like most people wouldn't even realize had his own comic and was a crossover character. But Batman? The Turtles have never met something that huge before then. So that Batman crossover, when that announcement dropped, like the hype was huge. And the first volume of that comic, so there's been 3 volumes, plus a crossover with Batman, the animated series between the Nickelodeon Turtles. But just looking at that first volume, it's a solid miniseries. This is a solid comic. Volume 2 I didn't like as much. Volume 3 really, really upped the game, and that was a good, solid finisher for the trilogy. But Volume 1 was like, it hit everything you wanted. I actually kind of think that the animated adaptation, the animated film version, might have actually been a better version of the story. They're both good.
That Freddie Williams art in that comic book was so perfect for Turtles.
It is. So I've had people tell me that they think that his art is a little too busy. And there's like, if you have to put a white outline around the characters so that they don't disappear into the background, maybe your art's a bit too detailed. I'm like, I know, but that's his style, and I love it. So people can have their criticisms, but I love Freddie Williams' art. But the animated version, I think it's zeroed in on some of the aspects of the miniseries that were kind of like not taken advantage of or overlooked. Like the Arkham villains getting turned into Ninja Turtle styles mutants, like animal mutants. That's a small part of the miniseries of the comic book version, but it's a huge part of the animated version. Like it took that concept that was maybe overlooked or underutilized in the comic, and it really exploited it to its full potential in the animated version. And the animated version is just animated really well. It's voice cast really well. It's got Troy Baker as Joker doing his not his Mark Hamill impression, which is great because I like Troy Baker when he's doing his Joker, not necessarily trying to voice match Mark Hamill. It's just really good. So that's one of my favorites because they didn't just they did a hype crossover, but they also nailed the quality of it, the substance of it, and it just absolutely blew me away.
If you haven't read the TMNT Batman DC crossover stuff, read Volume 1, read Volume 3, act like Volume 2 never happened because it's basically Volume 1, but they just go to the other world. It's the same story. Whatever.
They kind of skip Volume 2 when they get to Volume 3. I think they understood that one was they don't even mention Bane in Volume 3. Just like, let's just pretend that didn't happen.
Everybody should do that one. So that's a great choice. I'm glad most of the stuff that you've mentioned here I've actually witnessed. So when I was a kid, Mark, this, I think, was before you were even born. I remember me and my brothers all of a sudden one day we're watching TMNT on the cartoon, and next thing you know, there's lunch boxes everywhere, and we got announcement that there was going to be a live action movie, and it was a big deal. I don't remember how I discovered TMNT, but I do remember as soon as I discovered that 1980s cartoon, I was addicted immediately.
That cartoon, so a lot of hardcore Ninja Turtle fans are ashamed to admit it. There's this weird anti cartoon attitude towards the Turtles. Like, oh, that's for babies. Like, but most of us, the way we were introduced to Ninja Turtles was through the cartoon. That was how we found out it existed. Prior to the cartoon, it was the Mirage comic was an indie comic that was a really big seller as far as black and white indie comics went. But it was just an indie comic, and the only merchandising they did was with a board game, a role-playing game with Palladium and some pewter miniatures and like iron-ons for your T-shirts. There was nothing until Surge Licensing approached Eastman and Laird, and then Fred Wolf Films created the cartoon, Playmates created the toys, Archie did their own version of the comic, and it was just like you said, like one
awesome
moment
toys.
Ninja Turtles didn't exist, 5 minutes later, everywhere. Like it was. We say pop culture phenomenon, but that's exactly what it was. It just like exploded onto the scene. And so like my number 4 pick is the original 1987 TMNT 5-part miniseries called Heroes in a Half Shell. It's also called the first season of the cartoon, but it was really just a 5-episode pilot miniseries that ran Monday through Friday in 1987. In December, I think, it actually presaged the toy line, which rolled out in 88. And that was just how so many people came to love Ninja Turtles, and it introduced so many aspects of Ninja Turtles that people don't realize.
Altered what TMNT was after that.
It did. Everybody accused Eastman and Laird of selling out, but that's how they became millionaires. And that's the thing, is that maybe they let David Wise, the writer of the cartoon, and Fred Wolf, the producer, and Playmates Toys, they let them fundamentally alter their creations, and it's become kind of a joke. Remember that I think Harry Partridge did that. Like, what if Watchmen got a cartoon in the 80s and he did this great theme song for an 80s Watchmen cartoon that was done in the style of Ninja Turtles, and it's so weird and different. It's funny, how much they changed Turtles, but the stuff they introduced, like Pizza, Turtle Power, the rainbow bandanas, Cowabunga, the Turtle Van, all of those things are so beloved and so understood as part of the Ninja Turtles canon that even if they aren't from the source material, that's the understanding of Ninja Turtles. That's how people view Ninja Turtles now. And just that 5-part miniseries it's really funny. It's really, really, really well animated by the Japanese studio Toei. And everything, if you want to go back and revisit the 87 cartoon, but you don't want to watch all 195 episodes, because why would you? Just watch the first 5-episode miniseries. It's got everything you want. It's got the Technodrome. It's got Krang. It's got Bebop and Rocksteady. It's really well animated. The rest of the series is not as well animated as those first 5 episodes. But it's 80s Turtles at its core.
If you want to see 80s toys at their maximum, why they were so much better than any toys in any other era, go look at those TMNT toys that were designed after that. The Turtle Van and everything. Like, you just wanted all of them, but it was so expensive.
It's so great. The idea of having, you have your good guy toys and you have your bad guy toys and you have your vehicles, but you have a centralized play set. That's something that He-Man created with Castle Grayskull, was that you couldn't just have, the good guys and the bad guys. You had to have this centerpiece that they were fighting over. And in the Turtles, it was the Technodrome, because everything revolved around that playset. Everybody had to have that Technodrome. It's just so good.
Absolutely. So let's move on to something I actually have not consumed at this point, but there have been a lot of incarnations of TMNT as far as cartoons. They've done very many revivals after the 1980s series was such a phenomenon and launched Laird and Eastman into the stratosphere. But you're going with the 2003 cartoon.
So the 2003 cartoon is awesome. It was produced by Peter Laird, overseen by him, and he had final script approval of every episode, and he edited every single script. And he actually posts his edits on his blog, and they can be really brutal. When he's telling people that, like, you are missing the point. This is not the 87 cartoon. This is an adaptation of the Mirage comic. Forget the 87 cartoon. Like, this is supposed to be as pure an adaptation of the Mirage comic as we can get away with on Saturday morning television. And the 2003 cartoon is great. I love it. It's got some superb animation from a Korean studio called Dongwoo. And it looks really consistent and really good all the way through. Is it
3D animation or is it old school animation?
It's old school animation. So the 3D animated cartoon, the CG one, was made by Nickelodeon in 2012. But this was classic animation. It's kind of like the last hurrah for just old school Turtles. And it introduced, I think, kids in 2003 to the Mirage style Turtles. As much as it could get away with as a Saturday morning cartoon. It was very pure and Laird made it that way up until about season 5. After season 5, that's when it went into the fast forward era and the Back to the Sewers era that kind of went off the rails. But specifically the part that I want to focus on as my number 3 is the finale movie. They did a TV movie that they aired on, I think it was like Black Friday or Thanksgiving in 2009. And it was the last thing they did right before Laird sold the franchise to Viacom. It was kind of just a farewell letter for the Mirage era of Ninja Turtles, and it couldn't be more fitting. It's called Turtles Forever. And it was Into the Spider-Verse before that bullshit existed. It's the exact same thing. It's the 2003 cartoon Turtles. They cross over with the 1987 cartoon Turtles. And then they cross over with the Mirage comic Turtles. And then we find out that there's a whole multiverse of Ninja Turtles. And there's this great like sprawl of the Archie Turtles, the Japanese anime turtles that actually exist that a lot of people don't know about, and all the different Ninja Turtles incarnations, that they all coexist in this huge multiverse. The live action turtles even get a little cameo in that collage. And it is just the straight up metatextual celebration of Ninja Turtles. And it's animated really well. It's written so slyly. The only thing that brings it down is that because of a union situation with the voice actors, because of SAG, they couldn't get the original voice actors from the '87 cartoon back. It was forbidden because the movie was produced by 4Kids, which is non-union, so they couldn't get the original actors back. But the voice actors they got to substitute them, for the most part, are actually doing really good impressions, especially the guy who does an impression of Rob Paulson as Raphael. He did a great job. But just the fact that it exists, and again, like 10 years before Into the Spider-Verse just totally ripped it off. It's so good. It's a love letter, celebration to everything Ninja Turtles. And even the stuff Peter Laird doesn't like. He appreciates that. He said that he appreciates that the '87 cartoon got him rich, but as a creator, he understands that it's not his vision of Turtles. But he's like, whatever. This is a celebration made for fans. If you love any version of Turtles, like this movie was for you, and I just absolutely loved it.
Very good. I'm excited. I'm going to have to go visit that because that sounds like it's right up my alley. Now, your number 2 choice is absolutely, you found a place in my heart with this one. After that 1987 cartoon and the rumors that there was going to be a live action Turtles movie, you're like, how are they? This can't be live action. There are no walking turtles. And it turns out, I think it was Jim Henson ended up developing the technology for the robotic heads, and the rest they say is history. I think we even got one of the Coreys in there to voice Donatello.
Yeah, Corey Feldman.
I love this movie. I had which one of them has the poster where he's meditating? I think it's Leonardo.
I had that poster. So, I had that poster too. It was actually on I think there was a whole package of posters. Yeah, of him meditating. There's one of Splinter, like when he's like in chains with the Shredder next to him. There's a whole series of posters. We had them all, and we put them up in our house as a kid. We called it the playroom. It was where me and my brother had like stored all of our toys and watched TV, and we had a VCR in there and stuff. And it was just plastered with those posters all over it.
Even though Raph is my favorite, I had the Leonardo meditating poster. That movie was image. Shockingly good. I can't believe they pulled it off.
Not just the fact that they pulled it off and it was a good movie. I mean, it struck while the iron was hot. 1990, peak turtle mania. And most movies, when they come out too late to capture the cultural phenomenon. Like the Simpsons movie came out in 2007 when it should have come out in like 1997. Yeah, it was too late. There was a My Little Pony movie back, but that came out like after like My Little Pony Friendship is Magic had already kind of come and gone.
Transformers, the original movie came out right at the right time.
That struck when the iron was hot, and it hit at just the right time. People were better at timing their movies back then with their franchises. And Turtles, that live action movie, like Turtle Mania, they knew was not going to last forever, so let's get this movie out. And normally that would be a cash grab and it would probably be a shitty movie that just made a lot of money and was forgotten. But no, it was so good.
It was no Garbage Pail Kids, let me tell you that.
Yeah, okay. It was not the Garbage Pail Kids movie, which is a bizarre horror film disguised as a kids movie. But the Ninja Turtles movie, it captured everything about Ninja Turtles. It adapted the first 10, 11 issues of the Mirage comic. It took most of its inspiration from the Mirage comic. If anything, it feels retroactively like an adaptation of the 2003 cartoon. It just fits in with that tone so well. It brings in stuff from the 87 cartoon that was necessary, like the rainbow bandanas and pizza and cowabunga, but it works them into the tapestry of the Mirage comic storyline. But specifically, the part of the movie that I wanted to point out as my number 2 spot is the intro, because this is Ninja Turtles the movie. If you watch the trailer for the movie, they don't show you the turtles, except in later trailers. The initial trailers in the run-up to the movie, they show you like the turtle shells bobbing up in the water. Like they were trying to hide it. Like, are they really going to make me believe that these are live-action, living, breathing Ninja Turtles? And that entire intro with April, with Paige Turco, and she gets rescued from the Foot Clan by the turtles in the dark. And you don't see them. And the first time you catch a glimpse of them, though, is Raph peeking out through the manhole cover and seeing April stealing his sai and going, "Damn!" And then we go down to the sewers, and then Michelangelo jumps out from behind, one of the sewer tunnels, and we get the great theme song, and we get the logo. And all the turtles just burst onto the scene, and you believe that they're real. And as a little kid, I was like, those aren't guys in suits. Those are the Ninja Turtles. Those are real. And they all do their like Bossa Nova, Chevy Nova. They do their whole bit, and it's so great, and the music's great. And then it ends with Raph like grumpily coming around the corner and going, "Damn!" Like, the entire intro is bookended by swearing from Raph, and you knew that it's not just the Ninja Turtles. Like, this is like grown-up Ninja Turtles. Like, they're swearing, and it's just, as a kid, like, it blew my mind, and it captured my affection for turtles, and they nailed it.
Yeah, I would have been almost a teenager at that point, and it blew my mind too. So I think they could have executed that at any higher level, and there hasn't been a TMNT movie that's touched it, as far as I'm concerned, that's live action.
No, they've tried, and as much as I enjoy Secret of the Ooze, I enjoy it more for its kitsch value in a lot of ways. Those Jim Henson effects are great, but nothing comes up to the heights of the 1990 movie.
All right, let's hit you number 1. One of the interesting things that Laird and Eastman have done since the beginning is you have the mainline story. If there's things that they want to fit in that are too centric on one character, they do like a micro series where you get these little stories, and that kind of gets us to your number 1 story, which I guess revolves around Leonardo.
Yes. So my number 1 Ninja Turtle story of all time, across all incarnations, all franchises, all versions, is the storyline from Leonardo Micro Series number 1, which goes into TMNT number 10 and then TMNT number 11. I call it the Exile to Northampton arc. But basically, it's when the Shredder comes back, because he died in the first issue, and is just assumed that he was a one-and-done villain because they just forgot about the Shredder for 9 issues. Yeah, he was just a throwaway villain, Even as big as he was in the cartoon and the movies and the comics, he was killed in the first issue, and then he comes back in Leonardo Micro Series number 1, and it is such. If you want to study layouts and tension of how to build a comic, read Leonardo number 1, because what Eastman and Laird did when they laid that issue out that was so brilliant is that it's a running battle between Leonardo, who's caught alone on the rooftops by the Foot Clan, the entire Foot Clan, and they are chasing him through New York, just beating him down like death by a thousand cuts, wearing him down. And it's this fantastic running battle of one turtle versus just the entire Foot Clan army. And the entire time that's happening, and it takes up most of the page, there's a picture-in-picture panel at the bottom of each page of the Turtles and Splinter at April's, preparing for Christmas, like cooking Christmas dinner, trimming the tree, wrapping their presents, just having a fun time, 100% unaware that in the page above them, Leonardo is getting his shit kicked in, and they have no idea, and it just builds the tension, because as that picture-in-picture panel progresses, they start like asking, like, "Hey, where's Leo? Do you think Leo's okay?" And they start worrying. Every page, they get a little more worried about Leo until the end, when Raph is like, "I'm going to go find him." And then that's when the two stories intersect in the last page, when Leo's like broken and defeated body gets thrown through the window, smashes into the apartment, and his final words are, "The Shredder, he's back." and then the Foot Clan descends on the apartment building, in April's apartment, and that leads directly into Ninja Turtles number 10, which is the apartment, the siege of the Second Time Around shop, the apartment building where April lives. And that's just also a great story, because the Turtles just being completely caught unawares. They're one turtle down because Leonardo is in a coma, and they're just being absolutely massacred by the Foot Clan. And then the Shredder shows up, and he wrecks house, and he burns the shop down with them inside, and they manage to escape. And they basically have to limp away to Northampton, to Casey's farmhouse, to escape. And Casey returns, and Casey helps them out. He actually gets he gets a blow in on the Shredder. You know, we always underestimate how strong Casey is, but he actually got his.
You mean a strike, right?
Yeah, he got a kick in on the Shredder, just one, but he still managed to tag the Shredder. So don't underestimate Casey. And then issue 11 is just the Turtles all of a sudden like, holy shit, we just lost mode. And it's like an epilogue to that arc. But that storyline is so good in the comic that it's been adapted into almost every version of the Turtles. You people who recognize it from the 1990 movie. They adapted it there. The 2003 cartoon, they adapted it. The Nickelodeon cartoon, the CGI one, they adapted it. It is the most famous Ninja Turtle story. Go back and read the original Mirage version, and you'll see why, because it's so good. It's their Death of Gwen Stacy, you know, that you see adapted in every version of Spider-Man. It's their original Sentinels arc that you see adapted in so many versions of X-Men. This is their quintessential Ninja Turtle story, and it's so good.
I'm going to be reading that very soon. It's ready to read when I get to the hospital with my wife to have the baby. And that was on your recommendation. I'm very excited. And I am even more excited. Maybe that jumps to the front of the line. Mark, thank you so much for running down your top 5 TMNT stories of all times. There's a couple things I need to check out, but you definitely hit my feel spots with some of those additions. Oh,
I'm always happy to talk Turtles. You can't get me to shut up when you get me started. Sorry.
No worries. Later, brother.
That's it.